We'll get to against the spread here in a couple of minutes. Big football weekend. I was laughing with Mike because why is David Shaw making the rounds as a potential head coaching candidate in the NFL? No one's hiring David Shaw.
That would be the Rooney Rule, Stu.
Really? Is that what you're saying? Are you alleging?
It's been, even when he was a Sanford head coach, that he seemingly has been trying to get his way into the NFL and out of college. Maybe he saw the whole NIL era thing coming from a mile away, but for whatever reason, he's always tabbed as like an NFL guy.
Let me make it clear. I'm not saying that he's not qualified. I'm saying that the NFL
pretty insensitive of you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, me.
You're saying it's a token interview is what you're saying.
That's what he said.
I am saying that,
Right.
but I'm not saying because of him. I'm saying because of the NFL.
You know what? I think Moore's going to end up being the head coach if Harbaugh leaves Michigan, but I would kick the tires on hiring David Shaw if I were Michigan just because he's an expert at keeping Harbaugh's momentum going for a good 5 years.
Why would you kick the tires on that? Michigan can get anyone they want.
Well, he's proven it. He's like, what was Harbaugh doing at Stanford? I can match that. Good 5 years.
So if he could do it at Stanford, he could do it at Michigan is what
I'm
you're
not
saying.
saying he can.
Right.
I'm saying kick the tires.
Just kick the tires. I love a kicking of the tires.
I think the Chargers were like, we want the former Stanford head coach. We're going to interview both of them. Let's interview them both.
Kingsbury's in the mix somewhere, right?
Offensive coordinator for the Bears, it sounded like, which I don't know if you watched a lot of USC's offense this year, but it was not very good.
I want to ask you guys a serious question.
It'd be great if Kyler Murray ended up in Chicago somehow, and he just simply cannot get away from Cliff Kingsbury, who apparently has been stalking him since childhood. Like, he wanted to recruit him, and he just kept following him around until he was finally on the same team as him, and now they end up together again.
On that point, there's got to be a good number of quarterbacks available, not just because there's quarterbacks available every year, because you have contracts that may not work for certain teams in their cap situation, but may work for others, but you also have what is reputed to be a really good quarterback class coming in. That's why Bill Belichick, having his pick of the litter and seeing that a team like Atlanta, which is possibly just a quarterback away,
Right.
it's not the huge hurdle that you guys are making it out to be. I think he's looking at things like division, front office, ownership. I think those things are more important because the quarterback thing you can kind of figure out.
Doesn't he also want to get away from the narrative of, like, I feel like if he goes to the Chargers and wins, it's just like you did it with another good quarterback. Like, I feel like there could be part of him that's like, I want to do this. At least want to bring in my own guy.
I want to do it with Desmond Ritter.
With a bad quarterback?
Not a bad one. I'm not saying they aren't going to draft one. I just feel like he doesn't want that's the narrative, right? The narrative on Belichick kind of, I mean, people respect him, but there is a narrative out there of a lot of that was Brady.
Man, Atlanta is such a good spot for him. I know that everyone wants to look at Justin Herbert and say, wow, what a great situation. They got older players on that team. Yeah, they got Herbert, but they're in a bad cap situation. Their ownership isn't great. It's in a wonderful part of the country.
2 hours from Augusta.
Yeah, I would go to
positive.
I would go to Atlanta.
Right.
Atlanta's got good pieces on defense, an all-world corner. They have a great running back in Bijan Robinson, and skill talents at the wide receiver position in Drake London and Kyle Pitts that we're all really frustrated knowing that they're capable of doing so much more. I think Atlanta's a terrific spot.
I would say the biggest positive of that team of Atlanta is that division. That's the biggest positive.
You ain't lying. And that's
a bad division.
Yeah, we've said it over and over again that if anyone knows what it's like to play in a weak division and capitalize on it, it's Bill Belichick. In part, built his whole dynasty on that principle alone.
What has he lacked in New England the last few years?
Sunshine.
Skill guys.
Access to golf year
That's
round.
what he's looking
Quarterback.
at. But the quarterback, but the skill guys also, it's just been like brutal.
Yeah.
Like Devontae Parker has been what he's been working
That's
with.
a hell of his own making.
Look at Bijan. Like, to Mike's point, like those skill guys, like there's a lot of potential in Atlanta.
But I think with Atlanta, he trusts the owner, he trusts the general manager that's there, and he trusts himself to be able to fix that roster and beat a really, 3 other teams in that division that are lousy.
I think if you look at the pick, if you have your pick of the litter, and I'm not saying Bill Belichick has that because we haven't heard much with the Chargers and Bill Belichick. We've all kind of projected that onto him. Hey, this team is just like a great head coach away. You can do it over there. But there doesn't really seem to be interest from that organization into Bill Belichick, even though they just interviewed one of his proteges in Mike Vrabel. I think if I just have my pick, Madden franchise mode, Atlanta's a really good spot. I think it's the best.
I have a serious question. If you think there's a chance that Andy Reid is going to retire after the season, because people have talked about it, right? If you think there's a chance, and you're Belichick and you're Jim Harbaugh, isn't it worth waiting around to see if that job comes open?
No, I don't think so. Especially like Bill Belichick's older, man.
But if you have the leverage with Atlanta, like if he knows from his meetings with Atlanta, it's yours. This is your job if you want it. Why wouldn't you just wait a couple weeks?
But Bill Belichick's in his 70s.
Right.
Why sit out a year? He wants to get going.
No, I'm saying Andy Reid retires after this season.
Yeah, you realize Bill Belichick is 15 wins away from the all-time
Yeah,
record.
but Mike,
Yeah, but he gets there in 1 year
he
with
could
Patrick
start next
Mahomes.
season
Right.
with the Chiefs.
Guys.
This is I'm with Mike on this one.
Why?
We're doing something weird here.
What do you mean?
Well,
also
number
don't
one,
know
you're
why he-
retiring Andy Reid.
I
Number
feel
two,
like
you
we're
have.
overthinking
I'm not
You're overthinking this
retiring
one, man.
Andy. No, I'm not retiring Andy Reid.
Is there speculation of Andy Reid retiring?
Yes.
If there's speculation,
This is the first time hearing it.
And if the Falcons are
I'm
giving
starting the speculation.
He's
I
been
mean,
doing it a lot for like 3 weeks.
There was one Pro
Stu
Football
Stugotz
Talk
or Andy
article.
Reid?
No,
That's all it takes
Okay.
for me.
Yeah,
I
one
mean,
article.
one article. Pro Football Talk. Mike Florio.
In all likelihood,
NFL Grapevine.
guys,
I mean,
in all likelihood, it's going to take 2 NFL seasons to get to Shula's record.
Correct.
You have him at his age deciding to sit one out because on
You're
the
No.
off
not,
chance
Mike.
he
You're
can get to the
confused. He's
record-
saying he would retire after this
After
year.
this
So
season.
starting next season,
next,
he would be with the
Belichick
Chiefs.
would be the
Okay.
coach of the Chiefs.
But that's totally unfounded.
But
and it's
if
just
you have
speculation.
the leverage-
I'm just saying.
Stugotz
Correct.
said it's
Correct.
No,
speculation.
but guys,
no,
from
time out.
Stugotz, from Belichick's perspective,
Yes.
if you know you have the Atlanta job,
Right.
why wouldn't you just say, "All right, I'm gonna do this, and I'll give you your answer in a week and a half"?
all these coaches are friends. What if Belichick picks up the phone? He calls Andy Reid. Andy says, yeah, this might be my final run here. You might want to wait around. I mean, it could happen.
You do know that if he takes the Falcons job and then 3 weeks later Andy Reid steps down, Belichick's going to say, "Damn it."
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
He'll leave
Because
Atlanta.
he's going to be like,
He's
who
left
could have
places
seen this
before,
coming
hasn't
except for
he?
Stugotz?
I'm so weirded out by all.
He could
of
Manny
this.
Diaz
I'm not
it.
gonna lie.
He could Manny
This
Diaz
all
it.
says-
You know, I asked
One of
Golick,
the
and Golick
weirdest
has a great
segments.
relationship with Andy Reid, and he said to me when I asked him, great question.
It is a
Great
good question.
He likes
Yes.
to build up his co-hosts and make them feel better. I'm on the receiving end of
He's
that a
great
lot
at
of
that.
times.
Yeah, he's so good at
I mean,
that.
that's a hell of a gamble. Atlanta, I imagine, is going to want to lock in their head
Right,
coach
you have to
earlier
have
than
that
the Super
leverage.
Bowl.
You have to have that leverage with Atlanta. Like
You're
they're like it's
Belichick.
your job.
Yes, you're Belichick. They're the Falcons. Like, you make them wait.
I guess following this whimsical fantasy that you have played out, where I am also texting Andy
They're
Reid on the
gaslighting you,
side
Mike.
Imagine if
and
it
finding
happens,
out
though.
any insight as to whether or not he might
just
retire after
saying.
this playoff run, then yes, if I'm Bill Belichick,
You wait.
knowing that I have the job,
Right.
knowing that Atlanta's desperate, I mean, under these terms of this hypothetical, yes, Stugotz, it makes sense.
I like how you guys think Bill Belichick
you.
is incapable of becoming a head coach and immediately resigning to be a head coach elsewhere.
Right, Manny Diazing it.
He's never
No,
done
Bill
it.
Belichicking it.
No, I'm just saying that's what Manny did with Temple.
Yeah, but Bill did it first, is what Billy is saying. I mean, he took the Jets job. Oh. That time of week again.
What time of the week is it, Stugotz?
It's time for Against the Spread. You didn't think I knew the answer, did you?
Jess has an update.
Taylor just sent me a screenshot of a tweet that says, Andy Reid, just to be clear, reiterated he hasn't thought about retiring or not being the Chiefs coach next season.
When's that from? When's the
But
date
has he
on
tried
that?
texting
From,
Andy
like,
Reid on the
6 days
side?
ago.
Exactly.
Well, 6
All
days.
right.
A lot
Against the
changes in a
Spread.
week.
Against the Spread is presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code DAN, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Stugotz, we begin Against the Spread with you.
Last week, I told you the Green Bay Packers would beat the Cowboys outright, and they did. Jordan Love, best quarterback second half of the season. He's really good. They're taking on the Niners this week. Brock Purdy, blah, 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 do it in the postseason. He's not going to do it. I am taking the Packers to win the game outright. Also,
That's not. Oh.
plus 9.5
There you
points against the spread.
I'm
I
gonna
got
take
to it.
I'm gonna take the opportunity because I've been bad at this game too. I picked a total on Against the Spread, and I tried to contort myself into a way that it worked. So, out of these three plays that I'm telling you, the one that I feel least confident is the one that's against the spread. But I think Tampa Bay can hang around in that Detroit game.
Same.
So I'm going to take Tampa Bay with the points against the spread.
Against the spread, yeah.
But the two bets that I really like in that game that I will volunteer to you and our audience, if you got DraftKings Sportsbook, is I like Baker Mayfield's longest completion over. The guy has been spraying the ball all over the field, and at the very least, Mike Evans is going to have an opportunity to drop this this attempt. So I like his longest completion over. I think the last time I saw it was over 38.5. And I like points in that game. Points. It's played inside a dome. Those two offenses can move the ball. And I'm not really huge fans of the defenses, even though Tampa's kind of settling in a little bit. So that's what I like in that game.
What's the weather going to be like?
Todd Bowles?
Stole mine.
Super Bowls. I got a bold statement. Lions will host the NFC Championship game. How about that? Anyway.
That is bold.
Thank you.
Because the Packers would beat the. Yeah.
Hey.
Jess, your
You
turn.
already said that.
I get it.
On again.
I've been going back and forth with this one. In my opinion, the game of the weekend, Kansas City and Buffalo. And right now, I'm leaning Kansas City +3. Again.
Right.
Switching to hockey, the Minnesota Wild are playing the Florida Panthers tonight.
Post game?
Yes, there will be a post game.
Right.
Unemotional pick from Roy here.
Yeah. Okay. The Panthers are on a 3-game losing streak. However, the Minnesota Wild are 2-7-1 in the last 10, and they are a bad road team.
They're
7-12-2. So the Panthers are due. I think they are going to win. They are a 1.5 goal favorite tonight at home. So I'm going with the Panthers
Against the spread. Star Wars night today in Sunrise. Billy.
May the fourth be with
I'm going to take Marist over Mount St. Mary's in college basketball.
Yeah.
Marist +3.5.
Good pick.
Chris Cody.
What's your reasoning for that?
Just a feeling.
You know what?
Just a hunch.
Gut feeling.
Guard
Yeah.
play.
Well, I famously last week told you Packers also plus the juice, and I told you to lock it, love it, do it. And I'm taking it again. Packers +9.5 in San Francisco. Lock it, love it, do it.
Against the
Against the spread.
Go ahead and Boris with your pick.
Not a lot of time left in this one. The Ravens are amazing. They're going to keep being amazing. Ravens -9 over the Texans.